Hi, I'm Regular Zach, and this is my limited set review for the Magic the Gathering Spider-Man set / Through the Omenpaths set. Now, if you didn't hear, the Magic the Gathering Spider-Man set will look like this in paper, but this in digital because they did not secure the rights for Spider-Man and all his friends on online clients. So we have our in-universe Magic version of all of them. They are the same cards, they just have different artwork and different names. So it can be a little bit confusing. I'm showing both of the cards side by side in this set review, but I'm primarily talking about the Through the Omenpaths ones because we're going to be mostly engaging with this, or at least I'm going to be mostly engaging with this online. So these are the cards I'm going to be looking at more often than not. However, these are here if you're going to your pre-release or need to learn about some of the Spider-Man ones because they are still super cool. I'm kind of sad they're not coming to the client. The other thing for this set review is that we're only talking about the limited format. So that's draft and sealed. We're not talking about standard or commander or anything like that. Also, in this format, we're doing a different thing with draft. Instead of playing with 8 players and you pick one card, we're playing with 4 players and you're picking 2 cards, or at least that's what they've kind of sold us. We don't have real numbers on whether that's actually going to be happening or not, but I'm fairly positive that most of the drafting will be 4 players and you pick 2 cards, which will change up draft quite a bit. So that will come up every once in a while as we're talking about these cards. For the cards, we're talking about all the red ones today, and we're putting them on a grading scale from A to F. So A's are bombs. These are the best cards in your deck. They're the ones that are the coolest and you show off to your friends. B's are cards that actively pull you into red or into the color that they are. C's are the bread and butter of your deck. It's most of your deck is built around these cards. So you're fine with playing them, but none of them are really that exciting. D's are cards that you hope you don't ever have to play. They're really bad. And F's are actively bad. These are cards that shouldn't even be in the draft format at all. They don't even work in limited. They're just kind of what are these doing here? So anyway, to start us off, we have Skittering Kitten, which is a single red for a 1/1 creature spider cat hero at common. It has haste and says discard a card, sacrifice this creature, and you can draw a card. So this is a really good enabler because in the red decks, a really big archetype is Mayhem. Now, Mayhem is an archetype similar to Madness that you may have seen, where if you've discarded a card with Mayhem during your turn, or on a turn that you've discarded it, you can cast it for its Mayhem cost. But you still have to use the same timing restrictions. That's why I say during your turn, because almost all of them are sorceries and creatures or lands or things like that. So you need to be playing them on your turn. But this is a sweet enabler. You get to play this early, attack with it a bit whenever it isn't useful for attacking anymore. You can just sacrifice it, and you do get to draw a card. So you just kind of replace itself plus Mayhem something out. This card's going to be a player. I think it's probably a C+. It looks a lot like I think it was called Vampire Neonate, which was also in a Madness set. So they're kind of recycling that design. Really great card in that set. I think this is going to be really good in this set as well. So keep an eye out for the Skittering Kitten. Next up, we have Shock. It's back. Shockingly. Amazing card. It's, a single red instant, deal 2 damage to any target. It goes face, it goes in the places, all the creatures, all the stuff. This is like a B-. You're going to want shocks. They're good. And there's a lot of small little spiders around too, so don't forget about that. Shock's great. Always nice to have. Next up, we have Galvanized Workforce, which is 1 in a red for a 2/2 creature human citizen at common. It has trample, 2/2 with trample, always fun. Whenever you cast a spell with mana value 4 or greater, this creature deals 1 damage to each opponent. Okay, so it just kind of pings while you're doing your thing. That's nice. And then you can pay 6 mana, put 2 +1/+1 counters on this creature, activate only as a sorcery. Yeah, it seems like they kind of decided that 3 mana for a counter is what they want on commons. But the fact that you have to spend 6 mana to get 2 is your whole turn, you can't really supplement it, so that's kind of annoying. So the activated ability, very expensive. 2 mana 2/2, just sitting there and attacking or doing whatever you're doing, and then sometimes you ping your opponent a couple times. It's okay. It's like a C maybe. The fact that it's just a 2 mana 2/2 is probably the best part about it. The rest of it is kind of there. Maybe it's a C-. It's not really exciting, but I don't know what other choices we really have. So yeah, it's a card. Next up, we have Romantic Rendezvous, which is 1 and a red for a sorcery at common. Discard a card, then draw 2 cards. I think this is going to be nice. It's like a C level card. I would like my discard outlets to be much more, I think, creature-y based and less just kind of like, oh, I just do this. Kind of like holding cards in your hand and having to spend the 2 mana for it. I like the kitten better because it doesn't cost any mana. So that you can easily just play any of your Mayhem cards. While this one's like, well, you have to spend 2 mana to discard a card, then to pay for the Mayhem. And I want to be playing, like, I only want to be discarding Mayhem cards, essentially. That's basically what I want to do in all those decks. It feels kind of weird to discard something just normally when you're playing discarded cards. It just feels bizarre. So this is probably like a C. I don't think you're like searching out for this card, but it will work. It'll do what it needs to do. Sorcery speed, though. Next up, we have Full Throttle Fanatic, which is 1 and a red for a 3/1 creature human pilot at common. You can pay 1 and tap it. Target creature gains haste until end of turn. I guess the best part about this is it's a 3 mana 3/1, but I don't really like the ability very much. If I have to pay mana to tap, that's annoying. Like most of the time, these cards where they like tap to give a creature haste aren't that exciting in the first place. And this one makes me pay mana. So I feel like this is like a D. I don't really like this very much at all. No, I don't like it. D for the Full Throttle Fanatic. Next up, we have Deathflame Burst, which is 2 and a red for a sorcery at common. Deathflame Burst deals 4 damage to target creature, and then it can mayhem out for 1 and a red. So again, if you discard this card on this turn, you can pay 1 and a red and just cast the spell at any point during your turn, or you could cast a sorcery. This card's going to be great. This is like a B level card. This is one of the cards that you want to be discarding. Like if you're in Mayhem, you're like, oh, how many Deathflame Bursts did I get? Because like, you're just killing things left and right. Also, like, 2 mana to deal 4 damage is crazy. That's so good. Yeah, I like this a lot. B for the Deathflame Burst. B for Burst. Next up, we have Wardens of Silverweb Summit, which is 2 and a red for a 2/3 legendary creature, Spider Human Hero at common. It has reach, and it says, whenever Wardens of Silverweb Summit becomes tapped, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. Okay, that's also nice. This is a great ability to do Mayhem shenanigans, where you just have this, 3 mana 2/3 with reach, and then whenever you feel like you need to play something with Mayhem in your hand, you just tap it. I mean, you tap it, you attack with it. You might lose it. It doesn't trade extremely well, but at least it has a big enough butt that it doesn't just die to a 2/2. So, yeah, I think that's totally worthwhile. I don't know if this slot's going to be a little tight, but I like that. And even if you're not, like, this is also just a rummage ability that you'd be happy, like, on attack, you rummage. We already kind of like that in Limited, just to get rid of some of our lands and things. It's repeatable. All that stuff seems really nice. And Mayhem for 0 mana, love it. So they're like a C+. I like that you can do this over and over again. That's really nice. Next up, we have Sadistic String Puller, which is 3 and a red for a 4/3 creature spider horror citizen at common, and it has Mayhem for 1 and a red. This card is perfectly fine. Like, it is a Mayhem card. You will be playing this in your Mayhem decks, probably. But it's like a C-, because it's so vanilla. But it does fit 2 roles of, like, in red. It works in the red-black decks, which are Mayhem, so you're, like, obviously wanting to discard this. But it also costs 4 mana, so in a pinch, it also works in the Gruul decks because you get to trigger all your, 4 mana value stuff. But it's still a 4 mana 4/3. I don't know. It's so funny to see this card because it seems so old school, where it's just, like, the ability, and there's nothing else. And it feels extremely vanilla. We rarely get to see cards that feel this vanilla. So I like that we're seeing it, but it also makes me feel like it's not very good. But I'm going to give it like a C- because it's probably still playable. It's just not like sought after. Next up, we have Kefin, Rage Incubator, which is 4 and a red for a 5/4 legendary creature, dinosaur villain at common. It has Menace. You can pay 1 and a red, discard this card. Until end of turn, target creature you control gets +3/+1 and becomes a dinosaur in addition to its other types. So this is kind of nice. It does a little different thing because you're discarding this card from your hand. So it's a 5 mana 5/4 Menace on the battlefield, or it's in your hand and you can use it as like a combat trick, which is pretty cool. It's weird in this world of like when we're discarding cards, we're casting them for menace, and this obviously you doesn't have, or not for madness, for mayhem. You can't cast this, so it just does feel kind of funny to be discarding this to do something else besides put it on the battlefield. But I do like cards that are like big, expensive creatures that have some utility earlier in the game, and the fact that we get just a free combat trick on this is nice. It makes it feel much more playable. So I'm probably gonna give it like a C plus because of that. Yeah, I think it'll be perfectly fine. The big whatever the 4 mana value decks will probably like it a lot because it does both of the things that you want. Where it's like, hey, I'm a big mana value creature, or I'm just some combat trick thing that could be helpful, whatever you need at the time being. So yeah, C plus. Next up, we have the uncommons. This is Firebrain Scheme. It's a single red for a sorcery. You can choose one. You can either exile the top 2 cards of your library, choose one of them until end of turn. Until the end of your next turn. Ugh, you may play that card, or you 1 or 2 target creatures each get +1/+0 and gain first strike until end of turn. Sweet. So a lot of the times we see cards that are very similar to this, but they cost 2 mana. Now they're also a lot of the time instant speed. So the fact that one of the modes on this is sorcery speed, like giving a creature first strike sorcery speed, not super exciting. It's annoying for your opponent, but it's not nearly as gotcha. But I think it's probably necessary because like this only costs a single red. So that mode is less exciting. Obviously, the drawing the cards is what we're really here for. And so, you know, a single red to get the ability to look at, you know, exile the top 2 and you choose one of them. You probably can just play that card this turn because you only had to spend 1 mana to do that. And if it happens to be really big, you can just do it on a following turn. So I like this. I think this card is nice. It's like a C plus because it does a lot of things. It's kind of awkward that it's like sorcery speed, but it's just because the power is really there. And the first strike part, I know I said it, obviously it's much better if it's instant speed, but you do give 2 creatures +1/+0 on first strike. Like, that's a really annoying attack to deal with. So C plus for the Firebrain Scheme. Next up, we have Cam and Ferric Havoc Duo, which is 1 and a red for a 1/2 legendary creature, goblin, human, villain. At uncommon, it has flying and haste. It says whenever you discard a card, Cam and Ferric gets +2/+0 until end of turn. So 2 mana 1/2 flies, attacks and stuff, and then you just, whenever you're discarding cards, you get to pump this thing up. It does make me want to discard a ton of cards all in the same turn. So that would be pretty fun and just obliterate somebody, like smash them right in the face. It does a nice little slick shot impression. So yeah. Like, this getting bigger while you're discarding cards and playing stuff from your graveyard and doing blah, 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 seems really nice. And the only sad thing is that it's legendary, so you can't really have multiples. So, C plus for the Cam and Ferric. In that Mayhem deck, this is going to be scary. Not really good anywhere else, though. Next up, we have the Infernus, which is 2 and a red for a 0/0 legendary creature, elemental villain. At uncommon, it says when the Infernus enters, search your library for a basic mountain card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. The Infernus gets +1/+1 for each mountain you control, and whenever the Infernus leaves the battlefield, sacrifice a land. So you kind of get to ramp, but you can't fix your colors. You have to keep mountains. Also, it's legendary. So there's this weird thing with this card where it's like, you're telling me I want to be mono red because I want to have a ton of mountains to make this thing huge. And then the only card that lets me really gain value off of the mono red thing is this creature. So I want to have a bunch of them, right? But then you're like, well, it's legendary. So then I play one and then maybe my opponent deals with it. So then I hope to be able to play the other ones in my hand. But it's kind of weird. I don't exactly know what it's asking me to do in the draft format. Like, do you want me to play mono red? Do you want me to just be very heavy red? Are you just trying to help me ramp into my Gruul decks to play bigger things? And then this card is just kind of like a creature that also ramps? That feels a little bit closer to it. It's kind of a funny card. So I don't really know what to think of this. But a 3 mana, well, I guess it's kind of small, probably. It's probably like a 3-mana 2/2, which kind of sucks. But it does ramp you, and then eventually maybe it's a threat. It's just so weird that it's only asking for like one of your land types. I don't really know. Probably like a C. It's weird. It could be a D. It's a C or a D. I think it's, I don't know. I'm going to give this like a C. I'm just so confused. Though, you know, to be fair, I do like that it's here. I like that they put little pockets of like, hey, try this deck. Try going mono red, and maybe this card will be good. Because maybe nobody wants it. That's one of those weird things where it's like, if this is like a D, because nobody wants it, that's probably closer to the case. And then if you're mono red, then you really want it. So that would be nice. I just wish I could have more than one on the battlefield. I think that would be really important. Anyway. Next up, we have Restless Razorkin, which is 2 and a red for a 3/3 creature human rogue villain at uncommon. It has trample. It says whenever you cast a spell with mana value 4 or greater, you may exile the top of your library. If you do, you may play that card until you exile another card with this creature. That is cool. I really like this. So this is doing a really good impression of the Possibility Technician from Edge of Eternities, which it would do the same thing, but it warped and it cared about Kavus and stuff. But this one doesn't, like, if this dies, let's say you have this on the battlefield and then you play your 4 mana value thing, you exile your card, right? Even if this dies, you can still play the exiled card. It says that it's there and you can play it until you play another one and exile a new card. But this thing doesn't have to be on the battlefield, which is great. It doesn't leave at the end of your next turn. It just sits there. It's just like an extra hand, basically. I think this is great. I think this is really cool, really fun design, and going to be really good in like the Gruul decks. Want this card really badly. I think other ones could probably play with it as well, but Gruul specifically really wants this card. So it's probably a B. Like it's a B in that deck where you're just like, man, this is going to be lots of card advantage, and I just feel like you can do a lot with this card. Yeah, really sweet. Next up, we have Wisecrack, which is 2 and a red for an instant at uncommon. Target creature deals combat damage equal to its power to itself. If that creature is attacking, Wisecrack deals 2 damage to that creature's controller. So this is like cut propulsion from our last set, Edge of Eternities. Definitely works as long as we have a bunch of creatures that have the same power as their toughness or more power than their toughness. So we'll have to see if there's like a certain card that really gets around this. But this is like what our big red spell. It's just like, hey, things shoot themselves, which is pretty sick. Yeah, 3 mana is great for this. And the extra, like, just deal 2 damage if you're attacking. Like, I will often, if you're at 2 life and you're attacking into red, this is the card that's going to be flashing in my brain. Like, oh, don't get Wisecracked. Like, that sucks. Also, actually, no. Then that just feels horrible because you don't even have to kill the creature. It just, you just have to play this on a creature that's attacking. And then, yeah, don't attack red players if they have 2. Having 2 life in this format seems so scary because they could Wisecrack you or they could shock you. Awful. Awful. Don't go to 2 life in this format. Wisecrack's giving a B. That's a good card. Next up, we have Lavaborn Goblins, which is 4 and a red for a 5/4 creature goblin berserker villain at uncommon. It has haste and it has mayhem for 2 and a red. This is a bit more exciting than the other vanilla E one. This is like our French vanilla version, but like it is just great stats. But the haste on it is really nice, where you like discard it, but like first main phase, and then you just attack with it. That just seems so scary. Also, imagine like turn 3, you have like the kitten on turn 1, you're attacking with the kitten, and then turn 3, you're like, okay, sack this, play this for 3, attack for 5, I drew a card. Like, I don't know. That seems just bonkers. Like, that's scary. But in the end, it's not an extremely exciting card. But I think that haste could push it up to like a C+. Yeah, I'll give it a C+. I'm fine with that. Next up, we have Kazuo, Ruthless Rival, which is 4 red for a 5/5 legendary creature, human rogue villain at uncommon. It says during your turn, Kazuo has first strike. So it's a 6 mana 5/5 first strike. It says when it enters, he deals 2 damage to target creature and 2 damage to that creature's controller. Another card that says, hey, don't be at 2 life, opponent, or I'm going to kill you. Don't be at 2 life against a red player. Just don't do it. It's just you're gonna die. But I don't really love this card. Dealing 2 damage is pretty... you know what? That is really nice. I wish it has a little bit more utility earlier in the game, because it feels like you kind of play one of these. I wanted to give this a really low grade. I wanted to give it a D, but we're probably actually... The Flangtum Kavu part of it, where you get to play a creature and deal damage to something, is nice. But I just feel like it's... it's the weird thing where, like, I really thought that the Nebula Dragon was so awful from the last set, and then it ended up performing pretty well. Now it's screwing me up for cards like this, where I'm like, I don't know, 6 mana 5/5 first strike is pretty cool, but dealing only 2 damage isn't that great. But it's 2 damage to a creature and 2 to the controller, so it's 4 total. We're gonna give it a C- because it should probably see some play, but yeah. Ugh. Yeah, C-. C- for the Kazuo. He seems cool as hell, though. I want to play him in, like, a fighting game or something. Also looks like he's part of, like, the Fire Nation. Are we going to see this guy again in the Avatar set? We'll have to see. Anyway, we're moving out of the rares. Next up, we have Rizna. The Rizna, the Spider Crowned, is a single red for a 1/2 legendary creature, Spider Human Hero at rare. It says whenever you attack with 2 or more spiders, put a +1/+1 counter on Rizna. Whenever Rizna deals 4 or more damage, exile the top card of your library. Until the end of your next turn, you may play that card. Just also notice it says whenever it deals 4 or more damage, like doesn't say to a player. It just says deals 4 or more damage. So it's to anything. Also, there's a ton of spiders in this set, so I think it's not going to be that difficult to make sure that you have a spider to attack. And it also doesn't have to be attacking. Like, yes, it could be one of your spiders that's attacking, but if you have 2 bigger spiders, or 2 spiders you don't care about, you can attack with them and put a counter on Rizna. All of that is pretty interesting. Like, it does a lot of stuff for 1 mana. And card advantage later in the game seems really nice. You want to go wide, which is kind of interesting. Which is probably closer to a black thing than a red thing. But the spiders really leans you in the red situation. So, I don't know. I think I'm going to give Rizna like a B. Yeah, I'd probably pull into red and be an aggressive red deck with this card. Yeah, B for Rizna. This seems very cool. So much stuff to do for 1 mana. Next up, we have Kraza, the Swarm as 1, which is 1 in red for a 2/1 legendary creature, Spider Human Hero at rare. It has Riot, which means this creature enters with your choice of a +1/+1 counter or haste. So either you want to get down early or you want to get your creatures bigger. It also says other spiders you control have Riot, so they all have that ability. That's bonkers. This with the last one is just so... They're really pushing the spiders thing in standard. We're not here to talk about that, but that just seems like, yeah, okay, is this the new thing for mono red stuff? Anyway, it says spells and abilities can't be countered and damage can't be prevented. Woof. That part is less exciting. I don't think there's going to be nearly as much countering stuff in this draft format. But the Riot to all your spiders and to this creature, you just get to make all your spiders bigger. I think that's probably what you want to do. It's just like, because they're so small, you want to make them a little bit bigger so they can brawl a bit better. But man, for 2 mana, it's like, this is like, okay, we got to kill this thing because it's just going to get out of control. This card's awesome. I'm going to give it like an A-. Kraza gets an A- because damn, is that cool. It's so awesome. Next up, we have Quint's Insight, which is 1 in a red for an enchantment at rare. It says, at the beginning of your first main phase, discard a card. If you do, draw a card. You just have to do that. And it says, if you do, because if you don't have any cards in your hand, then you don't get to just draw a card. And it says, whenever you play a land or cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, this enchantment deals 1 damage to each opponent. So this is kind of an interesting card. It like starts this clock where like, you play it, it's not really a clock, I guess, but like when you play it, you have to discard every single turn. But you're hoping that every time you draw a card, you get to discard to Mayhem, right? It also gives you an extra draw. So you just like flipping through your deck fairly quickly because you're drawing 2 cards a turn. But then you have to do that. So I guess, yeah, it is a clock that you're going to run out of cards in your deck. I think this is pretty strong. The fact that you're like casting spells from your graveyard, that's the one of the big things. Also, we've seen a bunch of cards that, exile cards and you get to cast them. So you get to ping your opponent each time you do that from different things. I don't know. This looks cool, but I think specifically you need this in a Mayhem deck. I think trying to do it with the other like random, what is it called? Anyway, the red card draw where it just goes into exile. I think what you really want to do is just be using Mayhem with this card, because you actively want to discard. So yeah, there's no real downside to it, but probably like a B in those decks. You definitely want to build around the whole thing. You can't just put this in any deck. But if you have some good Mayhem things, man, that's just a guaranteed discard every single time. The other cool thing is that like I've said this many times before, but when you're Mayheming, you can discard the card at the first main phase, and you don't really have to cast it until like whenever you want later down the line, as far as like your turn goes. You don't have to play it right then and there, which is really, really nice. I like that part of Mayhem a lot. Anyway, we're just going to give this like a B, maybe a B+, maybe just a B. But yeah, Quint's Insight, pretty cool card. Next up, we have Bayo, Irritable Instructor, which is 1 red for a 2/3 legendary creature, human villain at rare. It has flying and says you don't lose unspent red mana as steps and phases end. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, add red. And whenever Bayo leaves the battlefield, you may pay X. When you do, he deals X damage to target player. So this is just a bomb that's going to go off and explode in someone's face. You're just casting instants and sorceries, building up red mana. Hopefully you're primarily red. And maybe this is the other part of the mono red deck, is like you get Bayo and then you're like, okay, I'll use this and the Infernus and then let's go. But yeah, you just hold on to a bunch of red mana and then your opponent basically is just looking at you on the outside of the board as you're ticking up your dice, or like, the thing is scrolling in the arena. And you're going to be like, well, I'm like getting hit for 2 every turn in the air. And if I ever kill this thing, it just kind of blows up in my face. So what do I do? Because it says leaves the battlefield. It's not even dies. So like, also in a weird situation, you could just like enweb this back to your hand, spend the mana, smash them in the face, and then recast it and start it over again. There's a lot of cool stuff with this card. You obviously want to be really red heavy because you want to be able to use that red mana. But I think other cards in this like set already want you to do that. This is an A. This is a really cool card and really scary. And another card that looks sweet and standard. Sorry, I'll stop talking about it. We're talking about limited. But I like this card a lot. Yeah, A for the Bayo. Next up, we have Laszlo, Enthusiastic Accuser, which is 2 and a red for a 2/2 legendary creature, human citizen at rare. It says when Laszlo enters, suspect up to 1 target creature, and suspect means that creature gains menace and it can't block. And it says whenever a creature you control with menace attacks, create a treasure token. So you can have this enter, you can suspect itself and be like, I suspect me. And then it just becomes a 3 mana 2/2 menace, can't block. When it attacks, you get a treasure token. You can obviously put it on any of the other creatures that you want. You could also suspect your opponent's creatures, which makes it so they can't block. Because obviously they don't get treasures. It's only if your creatures with menace have treasures. And this also goes really well with your other creatures with menace. So it doesn't have to be suspected creatures. It's just any creature that has menace. You want a ton of them because Laszlo, I guess, is a menace himself. Or just calls people menaces. Yeah, I guess the Enthusiastic Accuser is accusing people of being a menace, just like J. Jonah Jameson over here. I think this is a funny kind of duality, but no, this card looks really awesome. I'm probably just going to give this like a B, though. It's a little bit more of this weird build-around type thing, but I like the suspect get treasure token thing, Steam, like just pushing the engine further and faster. And then Gruul decks will probably like this a lot because your creatures are large, and then you also want to cast more large stuff. So treasures are going to be better for you that way as well. So yeah, really cool card. Ugh, man, red looks really fun. Some of these rares are awesome. I'm digging it, except for this one. This one's a big bag of poop. This is Lava Brink, repels the Magmaloth. It's 4 and a red for an enchantment saga at rare. It has 3 chapters. It says, until your next turn, each creature attacks each combat if able, and attacks a player other than you if able. There's nobody else besides us, so they have to attack us because we're not playing a different format. Second chapter, you add red, red, red. And then third chapter, the saga deals 5 damage to each opponent. Does, smash them in the face. That's kind of cool. But for the most part, this really feels like it's a commander card. Yeah, I guess technically you could play this on like your second main phase, then force your opponent to attack into you, and you can eat their stuff. I guess that's not terrible. But, I don't know, you do want a specific board state for this. Like, it's not that simple of just being like, oh, well, I'll just play it and all their little guys attack me. It's like, no, you don't always... You rarely are in a situation where you are in that board state. And if you are in a board state where it's like, yeah, all their little stuff has to attack into our big things, it's like, why don't you just attack with your big stuff? I don't really like this. I don't know if I should just give this a straight up F just because it says other players. So it's like supposed to be for commander, but I don't really like it. It's like a really slow lava axe. I don't know. I'm going to give it an F. I don't really like this card. I don't think you should play this. I don't think it should be put in your deck. Yeah. Not a good one. Sorry. Playing commander looks crazy. Next up, we have the Mythics. So this is Nia, Skysail Storyteller, which is 1 in red for a 2/1 legendary creature, human performer hero. It says, when Nia enters, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card for as long as you control this creature. And this creature is talking about the actual piece of cardboard, not specifically this named creature, right? Because we can also transform it for 2 blue, red, white. You can transform Nia, activate only as a sorcery, into Nia, Fabled Sky Climber. It is a 4/4 legendary creature, spider human hero. It has flying, vigilance, and haste. It says, whenever you play a land from exile or cast a spell from exile, put a +1/+1 counter on Nia, and then remove 2 counters from Nia, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. So you have the card from earlier, so that's 1 +1/+1 counter. And then you're going to have to find another way to get cards in exile to get more counters on it, to then remove counters to get more stuff to kind of try to keep something rolling. Another thing to remember about this card is that you can play this mana cost, or you can also pay this mana cost if you want to play it from your hand. You don't have to go through the transform thing. That's why there is a mana cost up here, which is pretty cool. And that's mainly what the haste is for, is that if you play it like this, then you haste it out. Also kind of awkward that it has like vigilance, so you can't enweb it if you wanted to, because it doesn't tap when it attacks. And so you're just attacking with, I mean, you also have a great creature. You probably don't want to return it to your hand, but if you would enweb it, you could then play it for this card again, and then exile another card, and then flip it, and then, kind of churn some other things if you're kind of stalled up on the sky. Probably not that important to mention, but I think it's funny when these spiders that care about stuff can't enweb each other. I just think it's just so funny. But yeah, I think this is a little bit on more of the weaker side, just because it really wants you to do this exile thing, which isn't necessarily everywhere in the set. There are cards that specifically care about casting cards that aren't from your hand, but this one really cares about exile. So you want to make sure you have all those cards that obviously put cards into exile for you to cast. Because on its own, it really is just a format of flying, vigilance, haste, which is still good. It's still really good. I'm still going to give this like an A-. But as far as, because I think all of these like mythic flip cards are probably worth playing. Maybe the white one's not so good, but yeah, I like it. It just needs a little bit more. It's not everything by itself, It needs a little bit of a build, a little grease, just to make it a little bit better, just to get it doing exactly what you want. I guess you could put +1/+1 counters on it on other ways. That's true. You don't have to just exile stuff to put counters on it. You could find white and blue ways to put counters on it. So there is that. And it does go into the whole white and blue modified thing. So that's true as well. So yeah, but still an A- for Nia. I like it a lot. And next up, we have our last card for red. It is Arachnomania, which is 3 red for an enchantment at Mythic. It says the legend rule doesn't apply to spiders you control. And it says, whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand, you may copy it. If you do, you may choose new targets for the copy. If the copy is a permanent spell, it gains haste. Do this only once each turn. So this is like, if you're all in on what we just said, exile stuff, but primarily I'm going to guess mayhem things. But copying every mayhem card that you play is bonkers. Like, the only thing is that you have to get this card on the battlefield, and it does nothing. But being able to make copies of all your creatures that you're mayheming in, or you're playing from exile from different situations, I think it's really an interesting card. But man, it's such a build around. You really have to do it. It's probably closer to like a C, where like, man, if you do the thing, it's going to be so cool. But most of the time, it's not. Honestly, actually, no. This should probably be closer to like a D. It's either like horrible in your deck or great. And it would be really fun for it to work out. But I think it's going to be very difficult to make it work out. Just because it's a 5-mana do-nothing card. After you get things rolling, you know, it could be one of the best cards in your deck. But I think you're probably not wanting to play it. I think that's what we're going to start with. But it looks really fun. It looks like a lot of fun. But anyway, folks, that is what I think about all the red cards in the Spider-Man / Through the Omenpaths set. Let me know what you think about this whole thing, and which cards you think are cooler, the Omenpaths or the Spider-Man ones. Let me know if you think I'm wrong about any of these cards. I like to talk about this stuff, so it won't hurt my feelings if you call me out on something, or if I said something wrong or whatever. I do appreciate that, and I want to make the best videos that I possibly can for all of you. Well, anyway, folks, thank you all very much, and I will see you next time. Bye.